think his skin's gonna be good, but his meat won't be good. Bad luck, just bad luck, no luck at all.
At the heart of the Louisiana swamps once stood Liz Cavalier, better known as the Gator Queen Liz. She was a bold and fearless woman who rose to fame on swamp people by doing what few women ever had, hunting gators with courage and pride. But behind the rifle and the tough exterior was a woman hiding deep wounds. Many people were unaware, but Liz had faced numerous personal struggles. From the loss of her father to the weight of family struggles and a tragedy that would change her forever, her journey has not been without its challenges. And now, as her fans watch her disappear from the spotlight, most are unaware of the pain that led her there. This is the story of Liz Cavalier, her rise, heartbreak, and the strength that defined her legacy. Swamp Queen rises, the rise. Born as Elizabeth Dupree on January 21, 1970 in Pierre Park, Louisiana, it seemed the swamp was already in Liz Cavalier's blood. She grew up in bayou waters, likely starting to drink from a bottle at a young age. Her father, C.J. Dupree, had introduced her to a boat long before she used a rifle. By age 12, she was trusted with her first alligator line as a rite of passage following her father's approval. Although their father-daughter relationship was admirable, C.J. was more than just her father, he was her mentor, teammate, and personal hero. Under his watchful eye, Liz learned the secrets of the swamp, when to wait, when to strike, and even when to respect the creatures she pursued. Their bond was forged by danger and wild adventure, nurtured by love, and later defined her identity. Liz's reality TV debut came in Season 2 of Swamp People when she joined Troy Landry's crew as his shooter. But it wasn't just another addition to the cast, but a statement. The History Channel's casting team knew what fans often craved: authenticity, skill, and charisma. Because Liz's skill with the rifle was nearly legendary, Troy approved her hire. On screen, she was magnetic. Her attitude was easy to understand. She had a no-nonsense toughness mixed with enough humor to lighten even the most tense moments. She stood her ground alongside other experienced veteran hunters and offered loyalty that anchored Troy's crew. But it wasn't just her skills that made her a lovable character on the reality TV show, it was her integrity. She fiercely protected the swamp's traditions and the people she hunted with. Soon she had developed a strong fan base who gave her the name Gator Queen Liz and quickly became a fan favorite. Her fan group erupted online, praising her as one of the strongest women with a heart of gold. That duality created a magnetic appeal, but not everyone was won over. Some critics questioned whether she could handle the pressures of Alligator season. Some argued that she wasn't fed through grueling decades like the veterans. In contrast, others countered that her calm demeanor under fire disproved any doubts about her. However, despite the court of public opinion, Liz had fully grown into her role by Seasons 2 and 3. By Season 3, she led her boat alongside her friend Christy Broussard, silencing the critics and skeptics. That was when she truly earned the nickname Gator Queen. She rose as a force of nature, so the swamp and the show respected her as much as the viewers loved her. Her rise was swift, dramatic, and well-earned. Rooted in the silence of the bayou, shaped by her father's legacy and driven by grit and heart, Liz Cavalier emerged as the swamp's reigning queen. And while her ascent dazzled on screen, there were also unseen moments of personal struggles that the world did not know about. A woman in a man's world, the Gator Princess. In the swamp, every sunrise brings danger. For a woman like Liz Cavalier, the stakes were unmistakably higher. Because the alligator hunting world is male-dominated, only a few expected her to last beyond an introductory episode. Although reality TV had featured women before, swamp hunting meant hauling heavy gator lines, enduring 95 degrees Fahrenheit humidity, and facing 2-ton beasts during the frantic 30-day season. It wasn't a trivial thing, especially for a woman. When Liz joined Troy Landry's crew in 2011, there were whispers that she could not hold her own. Some argued that she lacked the lifelong muscle memory that most swamp men had honed their whole lives, while some cheered her as a trailblazer. That respect only deepened when she captained her boat to form the only female-led team on the swamp. However, her most incredible teaching moment came when she began working alongside her daughter, Jessica. Jessica joined the cast in Season 4 at 17 and earned the nickname Gator Princess. Their relationship was unlike any other mother-daughter relationship, but still, it fostered a unique bond that many found admirable. In one tense episode, a hurricane threatened their hunt, but they waited together amidst the wind and rain. Their shared success felt epic, and their bond was unbreakable. Liz's roles as a protector and a role model shattered many assumptions. To some, a woman hunter was a novelty, but to others, a mother in the swamp was considered a weakness and reckless. But Liz was neither of those. She was a force. She taught Jessica how to respect the ecosystem, to clean and cook every part of the gator, honoring her roots and traditions which were deeply embedded in their culture. Her viewers were captivated by the blend of maternal devotion and primal grit. And so Liz Cavalier stood as evidence that to attain a balance between toughness and tenderness wasn't just possible, it was potent. Of course, sexism hadn't vanished. Rumors circulated that she received less pay than her male peers, and skeptics suggested she was cast as a TV star instead of being recognized for her real talent. But yet, Liz fired back with her records. Her consistent performance over seasons, from her shot accuracy to her ability to tag hundreds of gators and her leadership, silenced the critics and showed she was as skilled for the show as her male colleagues. By the end of season 6, she had become more than a pioneer. She was an institution. She represented every woman fighting for space, respect, and equality in unexpected fields. She maintained that women were good enough and was a living testament to that fame and pressure. Fame and pressure. By 2011, the History Channel's Swamp People had become one of the top-performing reality shows, drawing millions of viewers to the harsh and thrilling world of Louisiana alligator hunting. At this point, Liz's role had evolved beyond swamp work. It now included media appearances, travel, sponsorships, and fan interaction. But as her fame grew, so did the pressure. Suddenly, hunting became a practice reserved only for promotional stops. She was invited to TV interviews, expos, and conventions where she was expected to perform as both a rugged hunter and a television personality. The frequency of filming crews near her home increased year after year. She reportedly earned around $10,000 per episode at the time, bumping her estimated net worth to between $300 and $500,000. However, there were still complications and rumors that she and other veteran cast members felt underpaid, ultimately contributing to her decision to leave the show after its 6th season. Behind the curtains and cameras, Liz's family life became more public. Liz's husband, Justin Choate, and her teenage daughter, Jessica, became talking points in the media. Some reports suggested that contract disputes and personal tensions had leaked into their private moments. Her relationship within the cast also shifted. Initially, it was tight-knit, but then the crew began showing cracks under continuous exposure. The producers now favored new faces and reshaped storylines. And because Liz was fiercely independent, it sometimes clashed with production goals. When her contract wasn't renewed, she took to social media, bluntly stating that she wouldn't withdraw comments or remove posts that condemned the network's actions. That raw defiance earned fans praise, but reportedly pushed away producers. She later described feeling trapped, like she had to maintain the Gator Queen persona even when everything else felt unstable. Some critics argued that this stress was an unfortunate byproduct of authentic reality TV. Meanwhile, her supporters countered that Liz willingly embraced the spotlight and its demands. Indeed, she returned briefly in season 12 in 2021 for 5 episodes, which many saw as an attempt at reconciliation with friends and fans. Yet, her appearance was cautious and framed by visible fatigue and guarded interactions. From then on, her relationships with producers grew strained. More sources claimed that she had more contract disputes over the years and creative conflicts, particularly over storylines and airtime, which made continuing the show unattainable. For Liz, the swamp remained the only domain she fully controlled, as everything else felt like it was being tuned and manipulated. Still, through the cameras and clamor, her loyalty to her family and the swamp endured. This loyalty would later define her comeback. But this time, it wasn't on TV screens, but in how she quietly reclaimed her purpose. Losing her father. Liz's father, C.J. Dupree, was more than just family to her. To her, he was her mentor, partner, and the soul of her swamp world. When she first sat in a boat as a toddler, C.J.'s steady hand guided hers. He taught her how to read the moss on the cypress, the subtle ripple of gator movement, and most importantly, the respect for a life she took for sustenance and legacy. Their bond was admirable. They were just a father and daughter united by grit, pride, and the quiet code of the bayou. This bond defined Liz and who she grew to become. In the show's season 2 and beyond, many viewers saw her credit CJ in nearly every interview, and each time her eyes lit up as she recalled their hunts. However, the show captured only fragments, never the hours at campfire, the teaching moments at dawn, or the shared pride when they tagged out together. Even though he was the primary influence in her career, CJ remained her hero, a figure in camouflage and camo gear who never hijacked her spotlight. And as one would expect, when he passed away in 2013, it shattered that foundation. Though media sources on the precise date of his passing are scarce, Liz had quietly memorialized him with a post in 2013, which led to many speculations from fans about his passing. For years, she spoke little of the grief publicly. For her, talking about him wasn't simply enough. Instead, she honored him by revisiting their favorite spot, Honey Hole, in season 6, planting trees in his memory and speaking softly when the cameras were off. But behind the scenes, the weight of his absence became more visible on her. Some of her crew members noted that she had become quieter on set, though she maintained her trademark toughness. Some insiders observed that she seemed more distant and peaceful after CJ's passing. Some of her supporters believed that the grief deepened her connection to the swamp and the authenticity she brought to the show, while others suggested that without CJ's guidance, she felt disconnected from the swamp. Fans rallied behind her, and within weeks, social media groups lit up with condolences. The tributes came flooding in, from flowers left at boat ramps to messages on her official Gator Queen Liz page, and even handmade quilts sent to her doorstep. Liz responded in kind, dedicating every hunt that season to her father's memory and raising funds for the conservation of swamp wildlife. She often spoke of carrying him with her in interviews, making clear that CJ's presence remained in the swamp's heart. However, her grief did not end so easily. Her friends said she began mentoring other young women hunters more deliberately, sharing technical skills and teaching them about humility, respect, and the weight of legacy. She became a living bridge from CJ's generation to the future of the swamp. Although her intimate moments with CJ were rarely documented, those who witnessed them described them as a combination of softness and strength they'd never seen before. But despite Liz's composure throughout everything, she later admitted one night in her Facebook post that she felt empty without CJ's laughter echoing through the swamp. Falling out with the show. In February 2015, the close of Swamp People Season 6 sent a shockwave through the fan base. The History Channel had fired much of its original cast, which included Liz Cavalier and her daughter Jessica. The timing, which many considered too abrupt, happened just after CJ Dupree's death, and Liz was taken off the air amid a major cast overhaul by original media. But her termination from the show did not come without speculations. Rumors circulated about the reasons. Some blamed a creative shift by the producers, suggesting that they favored fresh faces and tighter storylines. Meanwhile, others whispered that this decision resulted from contract and salary disagreements. For Liz, whose estimated pay was around $10,000 per episode, this was more than a job, it was her identity. When she found out she was being let go from the show, she took to her social media to share her disappointment, writing, "Due to unknown reasons by the production company, Original Media, my family and I will no longer be participating." She expressed sadness for her fans, stating that it saddened her to know that the show's fans would be the ones to suffer from these unexplained actions. Her raw, unfiltered emotion in the post struck a chord, and her fans immediately commented about bringing her back to the show. But both on and off the camera, the cast dynamic had shifted. While Liz and her family were at home navigating the fallout, some returning cast members like Jacob Landry commented that they weren't involved in the decisions, distancing themselves from fan backlash. Liz's husband, Justin Choate, also voiced his concerns by asking fans for their opinions and saying they had been asked to remove their posts. The atmosphere turned tense as networks intensified the discussion with legal pressure. The show's producers offered little explanation for their actions publicly. Instead, they shifted the narrative toward a refreshed cast in Season 7, downplaying the departures of the show's former casts. Despite their attempts to keep things from escalating, the critics could easily see this as a PR move. Liz's supporters called it disrespectful to the swamp's heritage. This conflict sparked a tension that has long been present in the reality TV show business, where conversations about which was more critical, evolution or loyalty, novelty or authenticity, were often heated. Regardless of the mounting pressures to sue, Liz refused to. She chose instead to channel that energy into personal ventures like releasing her cookbook in 2015. Yet through it all, her fans never let go. They saw her departure as an injustice, not a justice. They rallied behind her, applying her presence outside the camera as a symbol of integrity, grit, and the swamp's enduring heart. The struggle after the cameras stopped. When Swamp People cameras stopped rolling after Season 6, Liz Cavalier faced a void more challenging than any gator hunt. Her sudden departure from the reality TV show plunged her into an identity crisis. There was no more spotlight in the swamp, no more weekly validation. And to top it all off, she now faced an uncertain future ahead. The swamp had defined her life for years and now felt hollow. But this was only part of her struggle. Without her TV income, Liz and her family struggled to maintain the lifestyle they'd built. Multiple sources suggested that she had to sell her assets and downsize on her lifestyle, which triggered her anxiety and self-doubt. This abrupt transition from public figure to private citizen weighed heavily on her, and though the applause had faded, the public expectations remained. Behind closed doors, she started to deal with depression. And there were more mentions of her struggling with low self-esteem. For someone considered tough as nails on TV, admitting that she was trifling mentally was a bold move. Her supporters praised her honesty and urged her to seek help, offering emotional and financial support. At the same time, the critics questioned why she couldn't pull herself up, lacking empathy for a woman who was stripped of her platform and part of her identity. Amidst this turmoil, she turned to social media to express her thoughts and share her personal growth. In 2019, she shared some photos from the swamp and acknowledged undergoing a gallbladder operation, hinting at health issues that added to her struggle. But despite her candid openness, the public saw only fragments of a private meltdown. Meanwhile, tensions also arose in her family life, particularly between Liz, her husband, and daughter Jessica, as they each navigated their grief, changing roles, and the loss of their community. Liz's retreat into long silences alarmed her friends, even during family gatherings. Some even reported that she would leave their group meetings early, vanish from the group conversations, and avoid outings. She withdrew from the public eye to cope with all the changes and started living a very private life. Her life was so private that even her famous Facebook posts became increasingly rare. Gone were the TV crew and the action-packed gator hunting. Liz now took comfort in small routines such as cooking Cajun meals, fishing quietly, and preserving swamp traditions without spectacle. But her withdrawal wasn't because of failure, it was about survival. During a brief Swamp People return in Season 12 released in 2021, her viewers noticed she seemed distant. Although she was present at the event, her general attitude around the cameras seemed reserved and cautious. That pause, that guarded demeanor spoke volumes that fame had left scars deeper than any swamp battle could. And so, when the cameras stopped rolling and the season ended, Liz's journey did not end. For Liz, it led to depression, strained relationships, and a search for identity beyond her Gator Queen persona. In the silence, she confronted her most dangerous opponent, herself. A life in the shadows. After her unexpected exit from Swamp People in 2015, joined with the earlier passing of her father C.J. Dupree, Liz Cavalier entered one of the most challenging chapters of her life, one that was largely hidden from the public eye. With no cameras following her anymore and her public role as Gator Queen Liz fading, she found herself confronting a different kind of predator, one that no amount of training or preparation would have prepared her for. She was now faced alone with the battle of grief, uncertainty, and the slow unraveling of her emotional foundation. The swamp had always been her escape. It was where she learned patience, where she built her confidence, and where her father's voice echoed in the wind. But after CJ's death, it became eerily quiet. Liz had not only lost her father, but she had also lost her mentor, her anchor, and arguably her most meaningful partnership. "My daddy taught me everything," she once said in an interview. "He was my guide in the water and life." After she departed from the show, she rarely posted on social media. However, her posts became increasingly rare and guarded even then. However, in 2018 and 2019, she surprised her followers and fans, giving the impression that she might return to the media space. Her Facebook page was filled with featured recipes, hunting stories, and swamp photos. But there was a different tone this time, something more personal and fragile. Her captions carried the air of a woman quietly unraveling under the weight of absence and change. In addition to these struggles, her family life became more complex. While she maintained close ties to her husband, Justin, the emotional load grew heavier between them. Her daughter Jessica had reportedly moved away from the public spotlight as well. Though fans often asked about their relationship and their return to TV, Liz stayed largely silent about her mental well-being. But now and then she expressed some subtle pain through her cryptic quotes. She just didn't look like herself anymore. One of her friends commented, "A light in her eyes was gone, and the swamp couldn't fix it this time." These observations were met with both sympathy and confusion. Some of her fans pushed for her return to the show, but Liz was too occupied with her healing journey to return to TV. Although her situation was dire, the emotional whiplash of rapid fame and sudden obscurity isn't new to reality television. Liz's journey was unique because it was so personal. Her identity had become inseparable from the swamp and her family legacy. When both were stripped away, what remained was a woman searching for herself outside the legend she had helped create. Although she never formally announced her retirement from the spotlight, her gradual retreat from the public eye spoke volumes. In recent years, she has appeared less on social media and opted for a quieter life, where she's most likely surrounded by the waters and trees she still calls home. She has found a peaceful existence with no press releases or dramatic statements. The only sound is silence. But that silence wasn't a defeat for those who followed her story. It was healing. The strength of a swamp mother. After the lights faded and crowds lessened, Cavalier stood steady and strong, upholding the flame in the heart of Louisiana bayou. She wasn't just a spectacle. She became a resilient woman with a quiet resolve to keep the generation's legacy and share in the long journey of swamp-hardened survival. After the death of her father, Liz's life took different turns into hardships and struggles she didn't think would come so fast. Perhaps it was her resolve. Liz took the challenges head-on and sustained some scars in the process. Such scars would have flattened the career for some, but Liz dug even deeper. Her dedication to her family, heritage, and the swamp became her anchor. She healed her wounds with Cajun recipes, became one with heritage meals that spoke of roots deeper than any swamp water. When people noticed her sincerity, their hearts were won and fans were made. Swamp People's Gator Queen Liz Cavalier didn't choose the swamp, it raised her. The articles flowed. Liz remained focused and community respect didn't waver. In 2021, when Season 12 of Swamp People briefly brought her back on screen, her fans cheered for her hunt prowess and grounded presence. She had a great relationship with her stepson Destin, teaching him the only thing she believed in, tagging big gators, a sign that she was still the resilient woman now enhanced with more skills and fame. And her fans admired her humility. But after a while of being missing in action, murmuring voices began to murmur different kinds of speculations. When some said she'd retired, others argued that she was only hiding from fame. Once in a blue moon, Liz would make an update about her life. The reality story was she was just a woman choosing peace over publicity. The occasional Facebook post showed her in gumbo-filled kitchens, winding freshly made crawfish lines, or smiling quietly at dawn's first light. The photos she posted were to share her heartwarming moments, not headline grabbers. They weren't dramatic. They were quiet moments of an ordinary woman sharing her everyday life. Her resilience whispered, "You can lose everything and still stand tall." Family remained first. She supported her daughter's choices, honored her father's legacy, and nurtured the next generation quietly. Liz is a symbol of endurance, embodying tradition. She is a beautiful representation of swamp mothers who cling to traditions even when the world moves on. The swamp, in turn, raised her. When Season 12 returned, viewers saw her not as a star, but as a woman refined by time. Although brief, Season 12 left a lasting mark on the viewers. Liz hadn't forgotten who she was. She was their swamp mother. Liz Cavalier's legacy. Liz Cavalier's mark on Swamp People lives on. When reruns are shown, fans stop and watch, a soft reminder of what's in their hearts. It may not be popular amongst youths, but she inspired all aspiring hunters across Louisiana. She may have stepped behind the camera, but her impact still echoes. Even years after her departure, Google Trends and Facebook searches consistently show interest in Gator Queen Liz, averaging thousands of hits monthly. Her influence is most potent in the new wave of female hunters. Statistics show that women comprise roughly 20% of recreational alligator license holders in Louisiana. Liz Cavalier can be credited as the pioneer of this growing interest in gator hunting. Her influence and power have gifted more women with the idea that they could hunt, too. If she can do it, so can I, the thought in every young Cajun hunter's head. Many follow her mentoring spirit, thoughtful, stern, yet pushy. The nickname Gator Queen Liz transcends a TV phenomenon and has earned a trademark of respect. That nickname is a badge she wears yet remains grounded in humility, never announcing herself. Instead, she has become the steward of the bayou, demanding competence and integrity from new hunters. Long after her TV run, merchandise pop-ups in t-shirts, caps, and prints sold out, showing the love she had garnered. In 2022, local news outlets shared a few pictures of Liz at a fundraising event for bayou restoration. She talked to local schools about wild-caught food ethics, sustainability, and heritage cooking. Liz's impact shows up even in unexpected places. For example, the Louisiana Tourism Board cited her in their promotional campaign, referencing her as part of the swamp's cultural tapestry. At its core, Liz's legacy stays beyond the seasons on TV. She wasn't one to do it for the ratings or the viewers. Hers was a life she had chosen to live even beyond cameras. She broke barriers and shifted perceptions. Now women attain gator licenses. They celebrate her big hunts with her and they talk about her wins. Ultimately, Gator Queen Liz is more than a memory. She's an essential chapter in swamp history filled with resilience, respect, and quiet power. And as long as swamps and gators are concerned, her legacy will be continued by every woman who attempts to be another Gator Queen. Liz's legacy may be filled with heartache, loss, and pain. But her heartache never defined her. Instead, it refined her into a mother, a daughter, and a warrior grounded by swamp wisdom. Even as pain crept in, she transformed it into a source of strength. And so, behind the legend stood a woman who carried heritage, resilience, and courage in every shot and every dawn. What do you remember most about Liz Cavalier's time on Swamp People? Do you think reality shows do enough to support stars after the cameras stop rolling? Should Liz Cavalier return to Swamp People, or is her legacy stronger off-screen? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe to our channel. Before you go, click on the next video below.